I am back. If you're new to my channel, then I guarantee that Zuko, no. In about a minute or so, you're gonna be going, what the hell is this? Like, can you just get to the movie? Can you get to the Blade Runners and the... Please just give me a minute outside of the film. In this opening chapter, it'll make sense in the end. I hope. Remember way back in my Her video when I said that Her is probably the scariest movie I've ever seen? Yeah, well, huge emphasis on the probably because I think I lied. A little thing to get to know me is that my biggest fear, besides whales, is losing my memory or being forgotten. Just the abstract idea of memory vanishing. It's utterly horrific. Memory is such a beautiful thing. I mean, it is the greatest gift that I and anyone has ever received, in my opinion. And you know, a little off topic, but people are always talking about this idea of the soul, how we all have souls that pass on when we die. Well, I think in some way that's, and I'm not a religious person, I think that's kind of true. I think our souls are intertwined with memory. They live amongst the memories we even have of each other. My soul lives on through you right now just by hearing and remembering this thought. And once I pass and my memory is remembered one last time, I think that's when my soul is just gone. That's why Dia de los Muertos is such a beautiful thing to me. Without memory, I don't think I'd be able to feel love, to feel sadness, hope, or purpose. It's what really makes us the people we are today, and to lose it, I don't even know. To anyone who is or knows someone suffering from memory loss, my heart pours out to you completely. What you're actually listening to right now is an auditory experience meant to evoke the same experience and feelings behind having dementia specifically in the process of it. I've listened to it about 6 times all the way through now, and I lose it every time. That kind of emptiness, that feeling of endless confusion and the search of something human, there is no other piece of media besides this that makes me feel that sort of unique type of way like the Blade Runner films do. They've always been about memory to me, not only in remembering yourself or your own past, but remembering the lives of other people. I can't help but try to remember everyone, from the people I knew to middle school to high school to the people I see walking past by me on the streets today. I am in a constant state of sonder, and it's crippling at times. Sometimes I just lay there and I remember, and maybe that's why I haven't uploaded in a minute. Like the other day, I cried because I was delivering food and I saw a person miss their bus in downtown LA. And no, I'm not a baby. It was around midnight and I used to take the bus. And when you would miss a bus that part of town that late, the next one wouldn't come for maybe another hour. And I cried for that rest of that delivery because I was remembering every overwhelming emotion that person was. And I just felt that maybe in some universal, maybe kind of spiritual way, that if I remembered them, they'd feel less alone in that moment.
Why? What am I to you?
I feel this way too often, and maybe in an odd way I wish that all of you are feeling this too. Maybe you do, and I just don't know. But anyway, if you're about to click off this video because you don't know what the hell I'm going on about, please just wait a second, because it's time for Blade Runner. And it's time that I ask you that, just as I'll remember that person and their pain, maybe for the rest of my life, and I'll remember all of you, you remember me. The Blade Runner series, based off of Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, consists of 2 sci-fi noirs directed by Ridley Scott, then Denis Villeneuve, starring Harrison Ford, Sean Young, Rutger Hauer, Ryan Gosling, again, Ana de Armas, and Carla Juri, in a story branching across 3 decades. Now, a lot happens in these films and behind the scenes, but just to sum it up for you, Rick Deckard is a Blade Runner tasked with hunting down and retiring a group of rogue replicants in the year 2019, including Roy Batty and Rachel. Deckard retires most of the replicants, but fails when it comes to Roy, who actually saves his life and leaves him with something he'll never forget, just as Roy's internal clock goes out. Deckard then spares Rachel and instead runs away with her. 30 years later, in 2049, Officer K is around, also a Blade Runner, but also a new breed of replicant. The difference?
They don't kind because we don't run.
After retiring an old replicant, Kay discovers the body of Rachel and that she's given birth to Deckard and her's child, the first ever child of a replicant. It's a huge deal, and especially to Kay, who finds out that he might be that very child. He might be more than just Kay. He might be the chosen one, the one to show that they aren't just slaves, that Roy's death wouldn't be in vain, that all these lives will be remembered, that... Oh. Okay. I guess that'll still live through Dr. Anna. She'll be the face of a movement that'll change everything. And she's great, I love her. But what about... Roy Batty and Joe are among the most beautifully poetic characters in all of film. Each one of them provided their own kind of whiplash to my little mind, exposing me to not only a literary subversion, but a complete change in my state of mind. Roy was the first ever villain I came across that I liked way more than the protagonist, and don't get me wrong, Rick Deckard is an incredible character as well, and goes through a really powerful arc that sticks with me too, but Roy, I think you all know what I'm talking about, and it is so melancholic.
You were made as well as we could make you.
But not to last.
The light that burns twice as bright burns half as long, and you have burned so very, very brightly, Roy.
The dude only got 4 years of life to live, if you can even call it that, and he began to understand more than these people ever will in their lifetime. Every line Roy mutters sounds like it's coming right out of Aristotle's mouth. You get this enormous sense for the amount of value he sees in life. So it not only becomes gut-wrenching when you see him take one, but it also increasingly depressing to see how desperately he'll fight for his. Even in his last moments, he's trying to feel alive in this chase. He loses it. And it might be scary to say, but it's completely understandable. I mean, his conversation with Tyrell and Deckard is pretty close to how I think mine would go if I had the chance to talk to maybe Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. He's just a man trying to live in a post-capitalist world that does not want him to.
Not very sporting to fire on an unarmed opponent. I thought you were supposed to be good.
Roy Batty has lived a life that I think a lot of us sadly will, plagued with memories that we don't know what to do with besides voice them back to one another. And deep down, I believe we do that because we all want a life like Roy Batty wants one, not just to exist, but to last. In his final moments before his internal 4-year doomsday clock blows, Roy makes a choice. He looks down to the man he's bested, a man whose purpose was to retire Roy from what he's dreamed of most. And instead of letting him die, suffer as he will, get his revenge, Roy saves him and shares his life with him in one of the most beautifully spoken monologues of all time.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched C-beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate. All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain.
It's at this moment that Roy actually achieves his goal to live, even if it is in the memories of Deckard. And also, please don't think I'm calling Deckard the true villain of Blade Runner. I mean, he is in this one scene, which is fucking awful and actually pisses me off and is the reason I can't give the original film a perfect score. But nonetheless, if there is a villain of Blade Runner, it's actually these guys. They would have never allowed for Roy to live on in their memories, but Deckard will. He understands Roy. And not just through Rachel, but even in the beginning. Deckard didn't want any part of this. He just wanted to live. He also just wanted life. And now he's been given this cathartic responsibility of remembering Roy and his troubles. But don't be fooled into thinking we can actually remember our memories.
But that's not how memory works.
We can only rewrite them.
We recall with our feelings.
Said this and maybe you've already noticed, but I have a powerful love and connection to this genre of character. Look at my favorite films, my filmography, my first tattoo. There is something about artificial beings that I relate to on a deeper level. And quite possibly I think that has to do with identity issues. I mean, name one android, one robot, one cybernetic being of any nature that doesn't struggle with who they are, and I'll be shocked. What I find so beautiful about Joe specifically though is how caught up he gets in this lie of himself. This idea of who he really is, but is it even fair to call it a lie? Sure, Joe was lied to through the implant of a memory that, though did happen, didn't exactly happen to him, but he never lied to himself. Joy never even lied to him, and yeah, we'll get to that later. But the life that Joe was beginning to live, through the power of a memory so purifying to him that it shaped who he was one that he really believed in to the point that it was him.
Replicants live such hard lives, made to do what we'd rather not. I can't help your future, but I can give you good memories to think back on and smile.
Remember earlier when I was rambling on about how I think our souls are intertwined with memory. They live amongst the memories we even have of each other. My soul lives on through you right now just by hearing and remembering this thought. Well, it's the very same when applied to Joe's character and his spiritual connection to Dr. Anna, which then leads back to Rachel, Deckard, and all the way back to Roy. Joe is the mosaic of all these memories, all these lives building up to this singular choice. After learning the truth of who he isn't, should Joe still continue forward in a life that in the end was never about him? A life where he would have just been another pawn in a grander scheme? Or should he leave? Leave everything he thought he was, leave all these memories, and abandon the idea of having a soul? I seriously think Joe is thinking of the latter when he leaves the other replicants. It isn't until...
Hello, handsome.
I'm sure every one of you already understands the weight that this scene carries, not only in the story but in Joe's heart specifically. There's like 1 billion video essays on it reiterating how Joy was a sham all along, saying only what Joe wanted to hear. Even naming him Joe was implanted in her.
Joe.
The cherry on top to piss Joe off, make him so fed up with living in a lie that he feels the need to prove his humanity in an act of heroism and as a giant fuck you to Wallace and his products. But I never saw it that way. Exactly. Sure, it was quite literally in Joy's programming to make him hear what he wanted to hear. Joe wanted to hear that he was more than Kay, that he was the child to change everything. But as any AI, even our own intelligence works, that programming immediately began to grow through the potential of a memory.
How many times have you told me that story? Your memory.
Basically, what's happening to Joe here happened exactly to Deckard as well when Wallace tries convincing him that he and Rachel were merely programmed to fall in love those years ago. None of it was genuine or real, but Deckard was able to actually voice to someone.
I know what's real.
I don't personally see this moment as Joe needing to prove his humanity. I think he's already come to terms with the fact that he never quite will to, never mind the world, to anyone. I see it as Joe finally coming to terms with the fact that to have a soul isn't to be born.
It's to have a soul, I guess.
It's to remember and be remembered.
Is it real?
I don't know. Ask him.
Though it's really brief, I think this conversation with Deckard was the real initial catalyst to Joe making his decision.
It's 2:45. There's no one in the place except you and me. So set 'em up, Joe.
What do you want, Joe?
I got a little story.
I want to ask you some questions.
Like what?
You ought to know.
Like, what was her name? The mother of your child.
Deckard may be human or maybe not, it doesn't matter. Remembers Rachel, a product, just like Joy, designed to supposedly fall in love with him. And just seen in Ford's incredible performance, I think the best of his entire career, he remembers her. And he does it fondly.
Rachel. Her name was Rachel.
Joe takes great note of that, and he doesn't know it yet, but he'll be relating a little too closely, a little too soon. It doesn't matter that she wasn't quote-unquote real. It matters that Joe will remember her. And now he wants
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
that same privilege.
Attack ships on fire offshore. Fire. I watched sea-beams glitter in the dark near the 10 house at
All the moments we lost in time, like tears in rain.
This scene absolutely shattered my heart and mind upon viewing. It was like watching an old memory be rewritten. Deckard looks over to the dying replicant, just before venturing off on an important path of his own, and sees in Joe what he saw in an old sudden friend long ago. And now, just as Roy accomplished in his final moments, Joe will have his soul live on, remembered, just as Zora, Leon, Pris, Rachel, Deckard, Sapper, Joy, Love, Dr. Anna, and I would like.
Could I take your portrait?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I'm looking my best right now.
It's not that kind of photo.
Silhouette follows Peyton, an insecure young person amidst a move into the new apartment, who's just fallen out of a deep relationship with their opinionated ex, Camila, and already wants her back. When Camila actually agrees to one last meetup though, Peyton begins to think that a reunion between the two and their beloved couple chairs could help reignite an old spark between them. The problem is, Peyton abandoned those chairs back at theirs and Camila's old place after the breakup ended horrifically. Keeping Camila out of the loop, Peyton ventures back to their old home in an effort to convince the new tenant, a young struggling silhouette photographer named Alice, also going through a breakup, that the chairs are far more important to themselves rather than she could even imagine. Things begin to get interesting though once an unsuspecting connection is found between the two and an ignorant guest arrives. Hi, my name is Alejandro and I'm the writer and director of Silhouette. This has been a story internalized in me for the past several years now. I'm sure all of you know how lonely and awkward the search for one's identity can be, and especially when it comes to falling out of the gender binary and escaping some nasty relationships of my own in my past, I've felt particularly alone in that search. It becomes so easy to let others define who you ought to be, that by the time you're on your own, you don't even know who you are anymore. Now, I felt this way for quite a while, but that was until I fell in love with the idea behind my silhouette. Seeing my figure as a blank slate, fillable with endless possibilities of who I could become outside of what others wanted me to be, it saved me from feeling so stuck. Saved me from that awful idea that the most interesting thing about me should be how I look to others. Silhouette is a beautiful story of two people as confused as I am, uniting to understand that the people of their past don't have to fill their silhouettes for them.
We're kind of in this really great time where non-binary characters are making their way through media and normalizing non-binary people, and it's a really beautiful thing to see, but there are more steps to take in normalizing those stories, and Silhouette is one of those steps.
A lot of people are like, oh, you have to look like this, oh, you have to talk like this, oh, blah, 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 and that's not true. You could look however you want to look. You can be whoever you want to be. You can be you, and that's what this film is about.
So it's a journey of self-discovery and self-love to essentially build up self-respect. That's what I think is the most beautiful aspect about this film.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. Just by watching this, we are already being a part of it. And that just, it means so much.
Please support us. Thank you.
Thank you for watching.